Tishat and Hoopachesset First Nation. My name is Mike Sparrow, and I am the Director for Cherry Creek Electoral Area. I'd like to introduce my ACRD planning staff: Alex Dyer, Planning Manager; Amy Needham, Junior Planner; and Kathy MacArthur, Planning Assistant. This hearing is being held in the ACRD boardroom electronically by Zoom. It is being recorded and live streamed on the ACRD website. Would staff please provide direction and instruction on how to participate in this hearing?
Okay, thank you very much. Happy to. And thank you everybody for joining us. We have a mix of participants here on, I don't think we have any online, but we have a number of people here in the boardroom. If you are watching the live stream on the website right now and wish to join the meeting, the details on how to do so are in the public invitation Zoom link that's linked on the website. Just want to quickly start off by highlighting some of the tools we have in Zoom to help us participate. So if you are participating online, if you do join us, you have the option to turn on or off your video and mute or unmute your audio so other meeting participants can see you and hear you. We ask that you keep your audio muted at all times unless you're asked to speak. There will be an opportunity to speak after staff introduce the application and the applicants have an opportunity to present. For those of you participating in person here in the boardroom, thank you again. We ask that you use the microphone system before speaking by pressing the silver button in front of you if you're at the table, or by using the podium and pressing the silver button when you're asked to speak. Again, that will unmute you and that will focus the camera on you. And when you're finished speaking, if you could press the button again, it'll return back to our chair. So when the chair calls upon members of the public to speak or to comment on the bylaw, we ask that you either put your hand up or call out that you would like to speak. Once you have been recognized by the chair, we ask that you state your name and address and follow up with your comments or questions. If you are online, you will unmute yourself at that point. And if you're in person here in the boardroom, you will press the little microphone button on your microphone base. And finally, when using the Zoom, there is a chat feature as well. It's accessed from the controls on your screen. So if you think of a comment or a question at any time as we move along, feel free to use that feature. All comments will be addressed by staff during the public hearing. So if you think of something as other people are presenting or as staff or the applicants are introducing, please use that. But once again, there will be a final opportunity prior to the end of the public hearing to ask any final comments or questions. I'll pass back to you. Thank you.
The subject of this hearing is bylaws P1454 and P1455. These bylaws are applicable to 5447 Maybell Road, are necessary to facilitate a 2-lot subdivision and for an addition of up to 4 cottages on the lot with the existing house. If you have any questions or comments about any other related topics, I ask you to contact the regional district staff after this hearing has been terminated. Will staff now read out the notice of public hearing?
A public hearing for residents and property owners in electoral area F, Cherry Creek, has been scheduled to consider bylaws P1454 and P1455. Hearing details, Monday, April 3rd, 2023 at 7 p.m. Public hearing for bylaws P1454 and P1455, 5447 Maybell Road, Brett von Brendel, property owner. Electronic, call-in, or in-person attendance at the Alberni-Clayoquot Regional District Office, 3008 5th Avenue, Port Alberni, BC. The subject property is legally described as Lot D, District Lot 135, Alberni District, Plan VIP 58096. Bylaws P1454 and P1455 are necessary to facilitate a 2-lot subdivision and a small-scale cottage development. Bylaw P1454 is a Cherry Creek Official Community Plan Amendment bylaw to redesignate a portion of the subject property from rural use to residential use. Bylaw P1455 is a zoning atlas amendment bylaw to rezone a portion of the subject property from small holdings A1 district to a split zone of acreage residential RA3 district and cottage residential RC1 district. The public hearing will be held by the Director for Electoral Area F, the alternate director, or the chairperson of the regional district. The board resolution making this delegation, bylaws P1454 and P1455, and all relevant background documents are available for review in the ACRD office and are available as supplementary information at www.acrd.bc.ca/events/3-4-2023. This public hearing will be recorded and live streamed on the ACRD website. Planning staff are available to answer questions in person, through email, or by phone during regular office hours, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., Monday through Friday, from March 22nd, 2023 to April 3rd, 2023, excluding statutory holidays. Anyone who feels their interest in property will be affected by the proposed bylaws will be afforded a reasonable opportunity to be heard. If you wish to participate in the public hearing in person, electronically, or by phone, full instructions to do so can be provided by contacting planning staff by email at planning@acrd.bc.ca or by phone at 250-720-2700. In addition, participation instructions are included in the supplementary information available at www.acrd.bc.ca/events/3-4-2023. The public hearing will be conducted from the ACRD office located at 3008 Fifth Avenue, Port Alberni, BC. Written correspondence can be submitted to the ACRD by one of the following methods: hard copy delivered to the ACRD office in person or by mail, email sent to planning@acrd.bc.ca, fax sent to 250-723-1327. Email or fax correspondence will only be considered received if receipt confirmation is provided by ACRD staff. Written submissions provided in advance of the public hearing must be received by the ACRD no earlier than 8 a.m. on March 22nd, 2023, and no later than 4 p.m. on April 3rd, 2023, to ensure their inclusion in the public record. Correspondence submitted ahead of the public hearing outside of these parameters will not be included. Questions may be directed to the Alberni Clayoquot Regional District Planning Department, 3008 Fifth Avenue, Port Alberni, BC, B9Y2E3, phone number 250-720-2700, fax number 250-723-1327, email planning@acrd.bc.ca.
The purpose of this public hearing is to receive input, written and verbal, from any person who believes their interest in the property is affected by these bylaws. The board of directors will receive the full minutes of this hearing before voting on the bylaws. Staff are taking minutes to summarize the issues raised. Please speak clearly to ensure accuracy. With staff, please introduce the proposal.
Okay, happy to. So I'm going to begin with the agency referral comments and then the public correspondence that we've received, and then an introduction of what the application is, and as you've heard in the hearing, the hearing and notice. So the agency referral responses that we have received noted that their interests were unaffected or recommended that the bylaws be adopted subject to conditions outlined in the responses. Now, copies of those referral agency comments are available for public review. They're linked on the ACRD website if you're participating online, and hard copies are available here in the room. As I mentioned before, if we run out of anything and you'd like a copy, just let us know and we can get that for you. The agency responses will form part of the public hearing report that will be considered by the board. I want to highlight one of those comments now. The response from the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure. The letter that we received from the Ministry of Transportation indicated that panhandle access may not be acceptable due to increased traffic volume, and that a suitable driveway or gravel road may be a requirement of subdivision due to increased traffic from the proposed 4 cottages. And a couple things I wanted to highlight on that. The Ministry of Transportation is the approving authority for subdivision in the rural area and in this area. So they will have a final say on the outcome of a subdivision if the rezoning application were to proceed. And the other thing on that is that as the property lies within 800 meters of a controlled access highway, the Transportation Act requires that the Ministry of Transportation actually sign off on the rezoning bylaw before it's considered for adoption by the ACRD board. So that is a step that the ministry will have to take, again, if this application proceeds and prior to the board considering that for approval. There was one letter of public correspondence that was received ahead of the public hearing. The letter received at the ACRD office was unsigned and anonymous, but it does present points of concern and expresses general opposition to the rezoning. Again, copies of that public correspondence are available online for your review, and hard copies are available here in the boardroom. And the correspondence will form a part of the public hearing minutes and report. So the proposal itself, as you've heard, this is a rezoning application for a 2.8 acre property located at 5447 Maybell Road. The owner is applying to rezone from the current zoning, which is small holdings A1 district, to a split zone of acreage residential RA2 and cottage residential RC1 district. And what this would do is it would facilitate or allow for a 0.6 acre residential lot to be subdivided on the east or the back end of the property, and for the addition of up to 4 rental cottages that would be located on the remainder of the property with the existing house. A conceptual subdivision plan has been provided by the applicants, and that's included with the background information that is provided for you both in hard copy and online. This rezoning application is accompanied by an official community plan amendment as well, which would redesignate the property in the Cherry Creek official community plan from rural use to residential use in order to facilitate that 0.6 acre density. The RC1 district zoning permits 1 single family dwelling and up to 4 cottages, as you've heard, based on a site density of 1 unit per 0.1 of a hectare of parcel area. A copy of the permitted uses in the RC1 district are also available for your review in the boardroom and online. The portion of the property to be rezoned to RC1 would be approximately 0.8 of a hectare, or just about 2 acres. And again, this is where the existing house is located on the lot. And that would facilitate up to 1 single family dwelling and then the addition of up to 4 cottages, as I mentioned. The cottages themselves would be limited to between 300 and 500 square feet of floor area on the main level, with a half story above limited to 50% of the main floor area. The cottages are intended to be occupied as short-term rental accommodation units on a temporary basis by visitors and seasonal workers based on the definition of cottage as we currently have it in the zoning bylaw. And finally, one of the conditions of rezoning approval that I wanted to highlight includes the confirmation from a registered on-site wastewater practitioner that the property is capable of accommodating on-site sewage disposal to that 0.6 acre minimum residential density and for up to 4 cottages as well. The applicants have submitted a letter from a wastewater professional that has been received as part of this public hearing correspondence. And finally, copies of that letter, again, are available in hard copy in the boardroom and are available online if you'd like to review it, and will form part of public hearing minutes as they are presented to the board. I think I'll leave it at that. Pass back to you. Thank you.
Would the applicant like to add anything?
Yeah, I'll answer any questions anybody has. Thanks for everybody coming. I'm glad everybody's come to speak their mind. It's our neighborhood, and I don't want anybody to be unhappy, and so ask away.
We'll now hear from members of the public. Please wait and be recognized by me and state your name and address before continuing. We will hear everyone wish to speak for a third time before allowing second comments. Anybody want to speak?
Would anybody like to speak? We don't have anybody online, but once again, if you missed the beginning, if you are watching the live stream on YouTube on our website right now, then the details on how to connect into the Zoom webinar are located are linked on the ACRD website. So, and hi, Abby, I see you there. Is there anybody in the boardroom like to speak?
I just have one question as well. Ken Wilson, 5585 Maybell. I have a question on the size of these cottages. Total 700 square feet. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, the zoning limits them to maximum 500 on the main level, and then half of that on
So that's
The second
700 square feet, correct?
750 square.
750 square feet. Times 4, is that correct?
You use the microphone.
My name is Helga Histvedt, and I live on 5450 Dundrock Avenue. I have a letter from one of the neighbors who could not be here. Can I read it? Our names are Jennifer and Mark Norm, and we are homeowners at 5600 Dundrock Avenue North. We are writing this letter to express our concern about the attempt of the owners of 5447 Mayville Road to rezone the rural property. Our understanding is that the owners wish to be able to change the current 2-acre single-family dwelling with 2-lot subdivision and a small-scale cottage developing, allowing up to 4 cottages at the back of the property. The back of the debated property is bordered by the log train trail, as is ours and those belonging to our immediate neighbors. We are very much opposed to such a development, as we believe that this violates the spirit of rural home ownership. Reason as well, as long as time local property owners currently enjoy a private, quiet neighborhood existed, and the proposed development will threaten this greatly. Having 4 dense clustered rental units in a close proximity in our home will bring much noise and greatly reduce our feelings of peace and safety. We therefore urge you to reject this application. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Sincerely, Jennifer and Mark Norm. Who can I have an issue? Okay. Now I have a question. When you have these 4 cabins, the cottages, it says proposed cottages for temporary or seasonal staff accommodations use. Now, how much staff are you going to have? Where are they living? Are they living in those cottages, or so you have an extra? Oh, okay. 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 Now, my next concern was the vehicle. It says a maximum of 1 to 2 vehicles per cottage. Now that means at least 8 at times. Now you have your main home there with cars and whatever have you. And then you want to divide the 0.6 acres, and you could put another house on it. Now that's an awful lot for one lot. But we all have acreage. We all have 2 or more acres, and we all have a single home. Now, the neighborhood is mostly retired people. And we live there because it's rural. It's nice and quiet. And we're concerned. I especially live right behind you. I'm concerned about the noise. Sure.
Yeah, so the 0.6 lot that I'm subdividing is not where the cabins are going. Yeah, and that's it also has a 15-meter setback from the log train trail where that lot will be subdivided. And my mother-in-law is planning to buy it. So it'll be still in the family. And then the section of the property before that is where the 4 cottages will be, which is kind of in the middle of the property. And the size of the cabins are going to be small. They're not going to be able to house multiple people. We're just planning on doing a 500 square foot A-frame. So it's more like a kind of like a motel, but like just with the A-frame cottages. And obviously, just like any other motel or hotel, there will be no noise after 9 PM, all that kind of stuff, which will be enforced. Obviously, everybody's got to sleep. I sleep just down from it as well, and I don't want to hear that. So that will be regulated and enforced if we have to by the police or whatever. If the log train trail privacy is an issue, there's no. I'm sure my mother-in-law would build a fence around the property to privatize her lot as well as keep the log train trail open for nature viewing. So.
Well, that would be an extra resident on the property as well when it does 0.6.
No, she won't be living on the property. She owns a property on Nixon Avenue. So I'm pretty sure she's just, I don't know what she's planning on building, but it won't be, she won't be living in the property. So on the property. Yeah.
And so we would have, like there's lots of families and dog walkers on the trail. That would stay the same?
Yeah, I would, like I said, there's a 15-meter setback, and the log train trail would not be affected at all. Actually, the back right corner of the property, if you see on the picture, is like conservation land, so you can't build anywhere near that. So, but we wouldn't be encroaching on the log train trail at all because that 15-meter setback. So nothing would be built. You know, I do believe that the law is 30 meters back from the edge of the property for a building, or 30 feet.
So the minimum building setback in the rear is 30 feet. So that the rear lot line where the log train trail is located, the minimum building setback is 30 feet from there. And I think they've expressed a desire to maintain a buffer along that area as well. So thank you for your comments. Just if we could keep the comments directed at the chair, that'd be great. And then Chair Sparrow will ask us to respond. But that's fine. So thank you, Javier. Appreciate it.
Are there any more comments?
I do have a question. The house that they currently reside in is built, Lynn Nelson, 5212 Maybell Road. Sorry, not good following direction. The house that they currently reside in was built in 1974. So the septic field is just roughly 49 years old. And then, and then the new cabins would have their own septic system. This letter says that the existing system appears to be in functioning and designed, showing no signs of any type of health hazard. So my question is that septic system going to also be used for these cabins you're putting in? Or that he's putting in? Sorry, I'm supposed to direct it to you.
That's okay. Thank you, Lynn. I'd be happy to answer that. So there is a septic letter, as you've read, and that letter indicates that it looks at the soil profiles and the soil that's on site and determines that a type 1 seepage bed that will meet all the requirements of island health can be built. Now, the way that works is the sewage is regulated by island health, but it's regulated locally by the regional district at the building permit stage. So at the if the rezoning application proceeds, the next step would be a building permit application for each of the cabins. And at that stage, we make sure that there's a septic fund that's accepted by Island Health and prepared by an on-site wastewater practitioner as a condition of the issuance of the building permit. And then that has to be installed and certified prior to occupancy. So that's the opportunity for the local government to regulate that.
Yeah, so the septic permit that I got from Glenn Gibson was for the subdivided property in the back. He said we wait, like Alex said, once we get the building permits to build the cabins, then they do another septic survey and it will be on its own. It's not going to hook up to my own house septic.
Ken Wilson. Oh. Anyway, I have a question. This, somewhere in this 11, all this stuff says this conforms with the rest of the neighborhood, this development. I would like to see where this conforms with any of the neighbors we have, where's I don't see any conformity.
I appreciate the comments, Ken, and that's that's the feedback we're here to receive. So thank you for that. There was a member in the back that was waving, and also one. Okay,
I wouldn't see anything else in there, but this conforms.
so I mean there are policies in the OSB that made an application to redesignate the property to residential use, and the residential use designation as well as the rural use designation are intended for housing, and the residential use policies support cottage development as well. So, I mean, it's we're here to hear your opinion and your feedback, and if you don't feel like it fits within the neighborhood, that's fine. This is the opportunity to have that say.
Yeah.
In here, when it says you're kind of in favor, Heather Wilson, 5585 Maybell, that the 0.6, and I'm not really having a problem with the subdivision at the back of Panhandle. It makes good use of your land, but it says in here that it's partly approved because this 0.6 of an acre fits in with the rest of our community. Well, there's only about 3 or 4.9, basically 1 acre, all the way up to 5 acre pieces in our community. There's not one that I can find that's 0.6. So I don't know why it says that in here, that it conforms. And certainly, where is it in here that, we would have, the reason I'm having this problem I'm not having a problem with the subdivision of the lot. I don't think anybody is, even though it's a little smaller than anything else in the neighborhood. If it meets health regulations and all that, that's great, because we recently did one ourselves. But when I went to do the subdivision, I asked specifically the regional board, what do you allow on 2 acres? And they told me you can build your house and you could have a modular home up to an 800 or 900 square feet, whatever it was, on 2 acres or more. And if you only have 1 acre, you can have 1 house and a carriage house. Like the little room above the garage and a little suite or whatever, which is what the neighborhood has. And most of them are long and skinny lots. So what you could do with most of them is put a carriage house, put a little house behind, or put a panhandle lot like that. But my problem is now, if you open this up and this goes through, and there's no thing on here, there's an existing septic for the house and the proposed new one, which would be for the house, because you need a backup, whatever you call them, reserve. But then and that reserve seems to me for the house is where these cabins would go on this map. So I understand, you don't want to spend a whole bunch of money, but okay, we don't have any reserve or any septic showing, or even how maybe a little preliminary design of these 4 places would be, and then the back is the back. There's a septic and reserve, so that's fine. But I did, even though it's 0.6, so it's not fair to say that 0.6 is in our neighborhood, because there is not one that is. It's 0.9 and all the way up to 5. Most have 2 point something, long and skinny. And this is where I'm opposed to this zoning, is because anybody else on the long and skinny, if it sets a precedent, now it is in the community. So my neighbor here could go ahead and do the same thing. It's almost the same size. Already got a little roadway to the shop and the thing, and there we would be back to back. And when I came into this lot, nobody said to me, but if you wanted to rezone your property, you might be able to have 4 cottages there. There was never any inkling for me when I was doing the subdivision and spending over $1 million for my retirement house, that this could be in the area. I already knew about the intersection traffic being bad because I lived around the corner on Albert Street in a 2-story house. So I was looking for property to build this house on. And I specifically came in here and asked what's allowed and what the thing. No one ever mentioned this cottage zoning or 0.6 lots or anything like that. It was, this is what you could probably do.
And it, you know, it doesn't conform to our neighborhood. And once you do that, all the rest of us retirees and people who fought to have the rural privacy in our area and spent or built or bought, and here we are now. And if this is done and you've got your little, and I've had rentals and I've had a mobile home park, and I'll tell you, you're on holiday, you're going to be wanting to sit around your fire, sit out, have a few drinks and everything. And the lots are not so wide that you can get away and still have some quiet for your neighborhoods. So here we all are. And if this opens up, the next person could come along. And if they meet those same things, then that would be allowed too. And it's not a case of not in my backyard. It's like, it was never in our backyards. That's why we all live there, whether we live on 1 acre or 5 acres. And so now this is like, I can't see all that traffic coming out, and I can't see this being quiet by any stretch of imagination, especially coming from owning and living on and trying to monitor a small mobile home park in Beaver Creek. It's not, I don't think it's fair to the community. I don't know who is on this planning commission for our area, but we are the community. So, and this was posted in the paper during spring break, I believe. And that's why they're away. And this, I would like to say, I would like to have, because this I had to come and pick up myself once I caught that cottage industry in thing. I didn't get any letters or anything, and yet I'm affected. I would ask the board that they could defer a decision on the application and have a second public hearing, because none of us here have really had a chance. There was going to be a petition, but we had like 2 or 3 days to get it together. And I'd say 80% wanted to sign a petition. But on the weekend, we didn't have word processors and this to enable us to get it done. So that would be my ask, is that the board can not make a decision on April 12th on this, is to give the people a chance to read all these materials that we've just seen and take a look and maybe ask more questions and come to some solution. But it's just too much for me. Sorry.
There's somebody in the back who wants to speak. Can you come up?
Rita Mayo, 5420 Brendel. We bought our place well over 30 years ago. And the reason we bought 2 acres away from everybody, country living, city farmers, whatever. My concern is, let this fellow do what he wants to do. Okay, our neighbor's retired and they can't really make ends meet. So maybe they want to subdivide their property. What's going to stop them from subdividing their property? If we let one, we're going to have to let everybody. So where do you draw the line at who is allowed to subdivide their property when we all bought properties thinking we were getting 2 acre lots? Not that we hate our neighbors. We all like our neighbors, but that's why we bought, is to get out of the city and into the country. And I'm not in favor of having the city come to us.
They was have saying exactly, I think she said, Mo Ongran, 5510, yours, Dundal Avenue North, 5510. Now I agree 100%.
Yeah. Lobby Hider, 555 Mid Allwood. I'm 2 lots down from roughly. And we were talking about noise, and something happened there with police arrived and whatnot. Champion person got an anti-noise bylaw. They don't have that. So what can the police do? what are they supposed to do?
So Cherry Creek actually does have a noise bylaw, but you're right. It is, it's not intending to deal with nuisance issues that happen, in the middle of the night or on a weekend, obviously. I mean, that's not when staff are available to deal with those types of complaints. So that's a fair comment.
It's gonna be noisy, so people playing the guitar and yodels and drinking and, we're afraid it's gonna be a ghetto. That's our main concern. Once, like everybody says, once this starts, and you get all these people that they like Fort Avenue, that's what I'm suspecting. All these people are gonna move up into that area. And we've had thefts around there, car thefts. We've had all problems already, and we were 5 minutes out of town, 2 miles out of town. And that's my main concern, And also breaking these lots down. I got 2.8 acres, I think. And I don't intend to subdivide, but I would hate to live the rest of my life down there. Everything's getting subdivided around there. I think we moved out there for a reason. The reason is to be left alone. We're not to exclude anybody, but leave the rules alone the way they are. That's my concern. It keeps changing. Years ago, you couldn't subdivide in 5 acres. Now it's less. I got 2.8, I think. And pretty soon it'll be smaller and smaller. And move in. It'll be a ghetto. That's what I'm scared of. Yeah. And there's a lot of these people from my Fort Avenue friends there. They're going to be up there, I think, because out the way. And we're also surrounded by bush. Everything's woods around there. You never know who's going to be around there. Or who lives there is going to be sneaking around. You won't see them. Yeah. Anyhow, I'm a hermit. I want to live by myself. Okay.
I just want to say that I'm super understanding and sympathetic to you guys' concerns. I moved out there to be in the country as well. When I bought the place 11 years ago, you could not subdivide lower than 2 lots or 2 acre lots. So somebody has already, the Wilsons have already changed the zoning to 0.9 of an acre. So 11 years ago, you couldn't do that because I tried to split it in 2. And the lots had to be 2 acres in size each. And so me being 2.84 acres, you were unable to do that. So this has already happened. I'm just doing it to a little more extent. But if you include the panhandle access and the 0.6, it's actually 0.83. So it's close to your 9 acre lot. And the legal 0.9 acre lot, sorry.
Can we just reduce the back and forth?
Okay.
If possible, in the comments or the chair, if possible.
Yeah, so there was only allowed 2 acre lots when I first bought the place. Now there's allowed 0.9. I'm proposing to subdivide to a 0.83 if you include the legal access panhandle. I understand the noise thing, and you, as a business owner, I would have to deal with it and minimize it as much as I could with rules and regulations for rentals. Obviously, you might encounter people that don't want to obey the rules, and they will be evicted that night immediately. We're striving for a more high-end, like off-grid kind of stay. We're not putting up a strip motel. We're kind of trying to hit a niche market with off-the-grid A-frame cabins. We're charging more than you would see down at the Bluebird Motel. So that would weed out some of the 4th Avenue riffraff that might want to come all the way up to Maybell Road to stay. And yeah, so sorry you guys feel that way, but this is, anyway, thanks.
Tracy Locke, 5225 Maybell. I just feel like there's 2 separate issues that aren't really being dealt with. And I feel like there's one about the rezoning and subdividing. That's one separate issue, which I really don't have an issue with him subdividing his property, the 0.6. My issue comes in, it's actually a business versus residential. So he wants to run a business, that's different than rezoning for residential. So it's not for his personal use, nor actually is the subdivision on the back property for family use. Selling it to his mother, who's not actually going to be living there. So I get wanting to expand and do different things, but I feel like asking this to be done residential, then it should be for personal residential, not for running a business. Secondly, having a solution that I'll call the police, not really a solution and not really something that I want to have to deal with. Again, I was living in the city. I'm new to country living. It is a small road. It's already a really busy road. I walk on there frequently with my dogs. There's not even a shoulder. Like there's often people go ripping by there. It's a safety concern. And I don't think it's, you know, again, dealing with people, evicting them, all that. It's not a really good business plan and it's not really selling it to me. If we want to talk about the subdivision for residential, that's different than running a business off their property. So my ask is that it be dealt with just as a subdivision, not as a business. That's
I'm Darren Gadet. I'm at 5360 Dundalk Avenue North. Just have a few comments. The water around our neighborhood is, I've been there for 22 years. It's everyone who lives on our road knows we have a lot of water in the winter. Darren DeLuca logged the property across from our houses. And the water now it's incredible. Like it's double. I had to put a sump pump in my basement. All that water goes down to Maybell, goes along Jody's, goes down to the golf course. Have you guys considered the water runoff?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great comment. I appreciate that. The Ministry of Transportation deals with water flows that relate to subdivision. The Alberni Clackwood Regional District doesn't have any regulations that deal with drainage. But certainly as a part of new development and as part of subdivision, the Ministry of Transportation will consider something like that. It can often be too much water to deal with, you know, when there's a significant change in the neighborhood.
Okay, just my neighbor 3 years ago built a shop beside me. He built the ground up about 4 feet. He brought in about 30 loads of fill. So now that water floods out my yard, I got standing water all winter. I phoned the highways to do some ditching and I don't even get a call back. So just a comment. The water is a problem and it's going to get worse as the roots deteriorate in the ground there. Campfires, is there going to be campfires at each of these little cabins? No one's going to have a little campfire?
Do you want to answer that, Brett?
That depends on regulation and like,
If
basically
it was campfire season, you're allowed a campfire. Will there be campfires at night?
no, because it's quiet time. There'll be a quiet time. Like you can't stay outside and be making noise, obviously, because noise bylaw. You have to avoid.
Well, there's
obey the
always,
laws.
there's been a noise bylaw ever since I lived up there and we're allowed a campfire at night. I'm just, you know, I'm stating that there's probably going to be a campfire ring out there, probably 4 of them with the house, probably 5 campfires going right toward their house back here. Has that been considered? Just a comment.
No, it's a good comment, and
Yeah.
I'm not really sure. I didn't think about a campfire, but as far as the water drainage goes, like when I hire Bowerman to do the panhandle or the road, if that's what they require, all the drainage will be properly ran to the ditch, which goes across the road and into the pond and the creek that rolls through Mike Steen's yard. So I'm not going to put in a road. I'm not going to put in buildings without proper drainage. But I'm going to obey all permits. And
Yeah, I'm just commenting on the water. It's a concern.
Okay.
If all of us came to you and wanted to put 4 cabins on our property, would that be entertained?
I mean, that's
Even 2.
everybody's entitled to make a of the
Yeah.
zoning application. That's what we're responding to, to here tonight. So, I mean, if that's what, was what people wanted to do, they're more than welcome to make the application, and the board will consider every rezoning application.
Is there a potential for this short term to turn into long-term rentals?
That's a great point. Right now, the zoning restricts it to short-term accommodation for seasonal or for visitors, for tourist visitors or seasonal workers is the way it's currently defined. Now, having said that, if the board wanted to entertain a change in the future to how they define a cottage, then it could be something that could become more of a seasonal use or a longer term use. But as it stands right now, they're intended for.
So I'll make a comment on if it ever did become long-term use. We have a nice little neighbor in our area called John Dumont. He set some long-term, and I'm being very serious right now. He has some long-term people in there for as long as I've been there, and even before that. I can't even go in my house and use the washroom without locking my shop door, because they'll crawl through the bush. His people will walk through the bush and they start casing the place out. We've had that. My neighbors had to escort them out nicely a few times. You get a lot of, not saying you're going to have these types of people there, but the potential is there if it becomes long-term. And we all know, with the fires too, John Dumont, not that you're John Dumont, I'm not saying that. But we've had nothing but problems with smoke in our area from the fires. And he still has fires that no one does anything about.
Yeah, well, no, I appreciate the comments, and I understand the reference and the concern you've had. I would hesitate to bring individuals into this who are outside of the scope of this application, but your comment was heard. Did you have any other comments?
Just basically what everyone else is saying. We live in a nice, quiet country area. I moved out there for a reason. If I wanted to live by a campground, I would have moved beside one. But I know, things change and that, but, my older brother has an Airbnb and he's had one for 2 years. He's had the cops at his house 3 times to break up altercations between spouses. I just don't want that in our neighborhood. That's all I got. Thank you.
If the fires are like a major concern, obviously I'm not Dumont. I've had my own problems with Dumont and his residents. If it was like a deal breaker for residents that they just didn't want fire pits, I just wouldn't allow fire pits. That's I want to hear what my neighbors have to say. I don't want to pee anybody off in the neighborhood. If that was a deal breaker or one of the deal breakers, then I would just wouldn't allow it. So,
Does anybody here have any more first comments? Does anybody here have any second comments?
I'm Trudy Cadet at 5360 Dundalk Avenue North. So just on that comment that you wouldn't, which maybe you wouldn't, and sorry, whatever. But what if you sell? So if you're wanting something and you're going to set that precedent, it's like, this is what I want, and it's going to be amazing. And then a year from now, somebody else buys it. And now what happens to those cabins and what's being allowed there?
So second comment?
I just wanted to clarify something that it was Evan McClellan that subdivided near the top of Maybell. I don't know if there was 3 or 4 lots there, and they were going to be 0.9. There was a big hullabaloo. They didn't want to allow it. It wasn't us. And then they took it to court and he won, and that's the smallest in the neighborhood.
but also to declare, I have no problem with the subdividing, no problem with the lot. It's the rezoning to RC1 district and the cabins I have a major problem with, because just say if this nice man or somebody other close to me sells their property around it, we have just spent a lot of money to have the neighborhood. What was told to me, I could have a house and one modular home behind it on 2 acres, or on the 1 acre, a house and a little bit above it. So that's why we went ahead and moved forward. But now if the neighbor, such as the older people, sell, I could end up with panhandle lot, house, 4 cabins right beside me, depending on where the access panhandle lot goes, maybe 30 feet in. And that's not I can already hear things around, which is fine. It's a neighborhood. People ride their quads down the street. They do this, they do it. It's the country. That's why we're there. We're a community, but we're not like buddy hanging out all the time. But it's that zoning and those 4. If you wanted to subdivide your property according to the rules, like we did, but that's why we bought it, is to live there. And I didn't want to handle 5 acres. And that's, we made it to meld in 2, 2, and 1. As private as we could, put trees up, stay away from him, trees up on the other side, and try to, like you were trying to do, help answer everyone's questions. But the only concern is the RC1. That's it. That's what we're opposed to, because I wouldn't be able to live out the rest of my life quietly if it went in beside me. And this is a real concern I have. I don't plan to move anywhere else. I built the dream home there, a ranch here for my health. And now when someone sells their property, the realtor may even promote that this might be able to be done. You could buy this, and if you're worried about how you're going to pay for it, then you can do this, have a lot, take this, put this in the middle, and then your house. That's 5 pieces on 2 acres, give or take whatever's going to happen there, plus something at the back. But you have the right to subdivide your property anyway. But we also have the right to say, this is too much. Like, we're already here. We spent this money. We've done this. We've lived here for 30 years, whatever it is. That's why we chose it. And if you do it for someone and then anyone else selling can do that, and then it's not a rural, which we are still classed as a rural community, 5 acres, unless you go down to apply to subdivide and all that stuff. And I think everybody here, that's the way we'd like it to stay. And I also am worried about the traffic. The road almost has gotten into 4 accidents at that intersection by people who don't know the rules of the road. Now we're going to have possibly 1, and then, a lot more cars coming out that kind of crappy Maybell Road that we have. And it's just, having had that trailer park for 13 years, I know you can't control people. You can't stop the loud music. You can't, you can go and tell them, but it doesn't work. And so the only people there we had to deal with 15 residents plus us on the property. I just, that's why I'm against it. I'm not against you. I'm against the RC1 district rezoning.
That's a lot to unpack, and I forgot most of the points I was going to make, but I understand your concerns. I totally do. And at one point, Port Alberni itself was rural, and it slowly spreads out, slowly develops, slowly condenses. It's like the motion of things. And I'm sure the people that lived in the subdivision by Klitza felt the same way when all the houses started popping up, and it's a legitimate concern. All I could do is mitigate and then try to alleviate as much of the concerns as possible if the rezoning goes through. Like I said, I don't want to piss off any of my neighbors. I don't want to cause problems in the neighborhood. I personally think it's a good idea. I definitely see the concerns. My mother-in-law owns Riverside Motel down in Victoria Key. She's had the occasional thing to deal with, obviously. But for the most part, it's pretty peaceful down there. And I don't, as far as, privacy goes, like the only people that really will see and feel any of the going on my property would be Jody, would be Isabel Hyder, and the lady that lives behind me. Like Helga, and everybody else, sure, within earshot. But if the bush in Jody's yard and the bush in Isabel's yard, it would hide most of it visually from even Maybell Road. So there won't be a lot of visual for any other neighbors other than Jody, Helga, and Isabel. And like I said, all you could do is put a noise restriction on renting. And as far as other people being able to subdivide after, if this rezoning does go through, I can't control what other people apply for. I can't control what the ACRD allows or the Ministry of Transport. So I can't really say, oh, I put a stop to that. Like, I'll get it and we'll sign a petition to not let anybody else. So I can't control that. And I understand the risk and the concern. I'm just trying to do what I feel is best for my property and for my family. And I think it would be good for the neighborhood, but that's just me.
Stephanie? Oh. How would it be good for the community?
Our neighborhood? Well, it would bring more people to the community using the log train trail and enjoying the things that we enjoy. It would allow me to homeschool dad, that I homeschool my daughters and my stepson, to have a on-site business where I could stay home and homeschool my kids. So it's good for my family. And it could open up future opportunities for other property owners on the street.
I just wanted to know if I could speak, if I'm able to say anything to add to that.
Yes, we see that. If you give your name and address, that'd be great.
Yeah, Jessica von Brendel, 5447 Maybell Road. I just wanted to add that my parents own the Riverside and they've owned it for almost 20 years now. And over the last few years, we've lost a few motels, including the Somas Motel and the Estavilla, which were bought, I think, by Colson. And frequently she's turning people away because we just don't have the accommodation in Port Alberni to house even workers who are here for jobs that have to stay out of town. So that's additional money and support for the community. And that's just my 2 cents for that matter.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any more comments? Yeah.
Lynn Nelson, 5212 Maybell Road. My final comment just is, I also don't have a problem with the subdivision. My concern is that when these cabins are put in or they get passed, and it's a temporary accommodation, so like an Airbnb, like 1 week stays or, minimum 2 day stays, what will stop them from becoming full-time residences for people? Like, we get it as a temporary thing, gets passed to start, and then, a year or 2 years in, you decide you don't want to do that anymore, which, rightfully so. But now it's a full-time residence, and now we have families living there, not even just comings and goings. So that's the concern.
Please, Brett, go ahead.
Yeah, the cabins will not accommodate families. They're going to be very small A-frames, simple design, a simple kitchenette, a small bathroom. It just wouldn't house a family. We have no interest whatsoever in long-term staying at all whatsoever. And this is my forever home. I don't plan on going anywhere. Obviously, words are words. And I could just be saying that, but I bought this home to stay here. I don't have any interest in having monthly rentals. I just want to have like Airbnb style 2-day, 3-day for workers out of town, maybe a week at the most. That's it.
Ken, do you have something? Ken Wilson, 5595 Maybell. I think the main concern for me, I don't mind the subdivision at all. It's all good. Just the cottages are a thing. Safety's huge. Traffic's going to be horrible. People walking that street with kids, not to mention the intersection. Maybell has a ton of room to grow as it is, like in normal conditions, let alone adding all this to one area. Also, as an Airbnb, people are going to be coming and going all day long, every day, in and out, because they're changing hands so much, it's going in and out. So it's safety. The road can't handle it. And that's where I'm at.
The road's already crazy. I don't know if some people here drive down the road the way they do, but I've seen lots of bad driving down that road, and it is a bad road because there's no shoulder. I understand that, and there will be obviously an increase in traffic, especially if it's like 2-day stay, 3-day stays. But that's a result of obviously putting 4 cabins in. So, and that's what I'm going for. So there's no way for me to mitigate that unless we invent teleport machines and teleport people into the A-frames. So there's going to be traffic. I understand the concern, but there's nothing I can do about the traffic if this goes through, other than obviously people should obey 50-kilometer-an-hour signs or.
So, and just to add to that as well, as you mentioned at the beginning, but just to reiterate it, that the Ministry of Transportation does have to sign off on the bylaw before the board considers that for adoption, and they have expressed some concerns in their agency response as well. So that would be something that if the board proceeds with third reading of the application, that as staff we would work with the Ministry of Transportation staff to have them finish their review, and that bylaw needs to be stamped by the ministry before our board considers it for adoption.
Tracy Locke, still at the same place. I just have a question. There was a comment about like short stay versus long stay. So who monitors that? Like who, if we're saying there's short stay, no more than how long, who follows up with them?
That's a great question. So the zoning requires that it be a temporary or short-term stay right now. So the ACRE monitors these on a complaint basis, is the way the bylaw enforcement process works, which is a challenging process. And that's something we have a lot of experience with in short-term rentals, particularly at Sprout Lake and in the Long Beach area and Brendel. But it can be a challenging thing to enforce, and we rely on cooperation from the property owners and from neighbors to determine where there are issues, and we have a process for that. We have a bylaw enforcement notice that we can issue, or a fine effectively, and the board has the option to proceed with legal action on enforcing the bylaw if it deems to be appropriate. So essentially monitored by the ACRD, but recognize that's challenging.
Yeah, so in the event of a complaint, if somebody wanted to file a complaint because they thought long-term stay was there, any motel or any lodging has a record of bookings. So it's easily auditable and provable that they're short-term, not long-term. So.
So listen up. Please be advised that members of the board of directors cannot receive new information related to this bylaw between the end of this hearing and making the final decision on the bylaws. If a board member does so, the hearing could be invalidated and would have to be held again. With that in mind, does anyone have any final comments?
That's why I was asking for a deferral, because a lot of these people didn't even know about this. I just happened to catch cottage and it's only, because we all heard it was gonna be subdivided, not a big deal, right? That's the way of life. But then I thought, what is cottage? And I had no idea what that meant until I looked it up. So a lot of these people here, we didn't have time. It was, a lot of people were away for Christmas, Easter, you know, the holidays there, and it was in the paper. And because we haven't looked into this Ministry of Transportation stuff very much, and because of what you just said, now it's too late for anything further unless you deferred your decision on the 12th. Maybe you won't have heard from the Ministry of Transportation. But I think a lot of these people have a lot more questions and paperwork to look at. It's almost both sides of the street that we've heard from in talking 80%. They may not all be here at this meeting, but a lot are. So I think the least that could happen is that you defer it and then give one more public hearing so we can all get more information and read over things. Because a lot of people didn't even know what's going on until a few days ago, just before the weekend. They're not aware because not too many people scrutinize those things in the thing. It's just like, oh, subdivision, no big deal. Changing the RC1 district is a big deal to the whole community. And if I could talk to the people that planning commission, we are a big part of the community. So we should have some input, and don't feel that this is enough time to give proper input. Like, haven't gone even through all these paperwork that I came in personally to pick up. There's a lot of issues which was raised. The high water table is really high. The ditches are overflowing as it is in the winter. There's a lot. So that's all we're asking, at least this group, is to defer the decision and have a second public hearing for us.
Thank you for your comments, Heather. They are appreciated. Just so everybody knows, a decision's not made tonight. So the minutes from this public hearing, everybody's comments, correspondence that we've received, and all of that will be compiled in a report that will be considered by the board on April 12th. And the electoral area directors that participate in planning will get a vote on whether to proceed with the application or to defer a decision and delegate a second public hearing or deny the application would be the options they have. And those options will be presented to the board next Wednesday. Thank you.
Can the general public go to the your meetings in the electoral area F? Like, when you make a decision, you have a meeting there, all your group, like people on the planning commission in Cherry Creek?
Yeah, so there's a couple things there. So we have the Cherry Creek Advisory Planning Commission, which is a group of local volunteers. That is a public meeting, so you're able to attend those and watch. And you're not able to participate in the meeting unless you're invited to do so by the committee. But they're held in this room and they're advertised as well. So they're certainly a public meeting that you're able to attend. And the meeting on April 12th is a meeting of the ACRD Board of Directors, and that's where the board typically meets twice a month to deal with business, including planning matters, and that's where the public hearing report will be voted on next Wednesday. And again, that's a public meeting also held in this room, and you're able to watch that either in person or online as well.
But you're invited to go to the meeting, is that correct?
That's correct.
If you allow. Sorry,
No, so they're always public.
Yeah. It's always come out of the room, like there's readings already, is that right?
One reading. So the application was given first reading. I don't have the date in front of me, but it was in the fall. And prior to that, there was a meeting of the Cherry Creek Advisory Planning Commission.
Does the public know about this?
It's advertised. It's not. There's no public notification like you each received for this meeting, but absolutely it's up there. So, thanks for your comments, Simon.
Okay, just to comment on that, because I literally applied for this over 20 months ago. So keep them. I don't mind a second public hearing if that's what you guys decide or whatever. But rezoning application has went over a year and a half for me. A long time. So I feel like it's been out in the wind and available on the website to view or whatever you guys to comment on for quite some time. And only recently got that board up in my property. So it's been a long time running.
It's not been a long time running for us. We just found out about it.
If we can get the comments through the chair, that'd be great. And it looks like there's somebody else.
Just so you know, there's been no regional director for 6 months. So the 6-month time was the fact that there was nobody in this chair to run this meeting. So that was 6 months delay, or it would have happened in the fall. So.
Hi, I'm Lynn Krupek. I live at 5570 Dundalk. I have a question. If the Ministry of Transportation says no because of Panhandle and want a road put in, is that still, would you still be able to do it? Because it'll be probably 33-foot right of way.
So the actual measurements and the details of what the subdivision would look like would be at the subdivision application stage, and the Ministry of Transportation has the approving authority on that. So they're the ones that determine the width of that panhandle access, whether that's, I think the conceptual plan that's provided is 5.5 meters wide. They may require more than that. And that's up to the ministry to determine the logistics of that at the subdivision stage. But even prior to that, the Ministry of Transportation has to sign off on the rezoning bylaw before it gets to that stage.
Right. Yeah. No, I was just wondering if that would be a deal breaker for the development if it was too wide because of the property width. That was my question.
I appreciate it. And there won't be there isn't an issue with the minimum lot width or if that panhandle has to be wider, if the road has to be wider,
it won't affect it then.
The zoning would allow for that step.
Okay. So I have letters here to oppose the cottage development as well. Most of the same concerns about safety and because we all moved out there to be in a rural area and we've enjoyed it for many years, but we are worried about the negative impact with the noise and pollution, litter, no sidewalks, and everything else that we've already discussed. And we also were somewhat concerned about the Cherry Creek water supply because we have been struggling over the past few years with climate change and less available water. We're on restrictions a lot of times. So that was another concern. So I just wanted to get these letters to you as well.
Well, thank you for that. Does anybody else have any other comments?
Well, Heather Wilson, 5585 Brendel. When I read through these and I read closely again, so you have recommended it so far, subject to health issues, all those other things that have to be met. It's like, when I read through this, and then it could be approved April 12th, subject to the rest of the materials coming in, it almost seems like it's a done deal to me. It really, really does. I just feel like it is. It doesn't matter what we say or what we do, what we come up with, what our issues are, that it's going to go through one way or the other, whether we like it or not.
Appreciate those comments, Heather. I mean, the staff report that was considered by the board in November of this year, the planning staff recommendation on the last paragraph, planning staff is initially supportive of proceeding with the public hearing process for the rezoning application. So, that was initially supportive of the initial review, which includes the Cherry Creek ABC and the board considering the first time. But the public hearing process, which we're participating in right now, is an important component of this process. So, we would never be, as staff, we would never be recommending that let something be approved right off the bat without going through that process. So I'm happy we're here now, and we're getting some comments, and we'll let the board as the decision makers on this make the call after they've considered the public hearing minutes and the report with all the letters. Thank you for that.
Rita Mayo, I'm just curious as to how you decided who would get a notification. We got a letter in the mail, that's did, and a few other people, but majority of people didn't get letters. So I'm just wondering how you decided our property, just the corner of our property touches his. But I mean, how you decided who would get a letter to notify them about this and what were the qualifications for it.
I appreciate that. So the ACRD has a development procedures bylaw, which establishes the process in which we notify. And in that bylaw, they talk about a 100-meter buffer from the property. So we make a map that is a 100-meter buffer from the perimeter of the property, and any owner and any occupant of land within that area would receive a letter in the mail. And there's timelines that are established by the Local Government Act that we follow once the public hearing has been organized. We also advertise in 2 consecutive issues of the newspaper. So this was in last Wednesday and the previous Wednesday's edition of the Alberni Valley News, and require a sign be posted on the property as well. Thank you.
Trisha Wilson, 5595 Maybell. I'm just wondering, us as a community, what are our next steps that we can do to stop this?
So this is the public input process. At the determination of the public hearing, it's in the board of directors' hands to make a decision on it. The board of directors can't receive, as you heard from Director Sparrow, the board can't receive new information at the following this meeting. So certainly encourage you to watch the April 12th meeting and listen to the debate at the board table and watch the decision being made. If there is a deferral in the application process, then we will work with the applicant on determining what that looks like and when another public hearing might be held. If the board proceeds with it and gives the bylaw a second third reading, then as staff we would work with the Ministry of Transportation on what needs to be done prior to us recommending that it be adopted. But I certainly encourage anybody to reach out to planning staff if you want to give me a phone call or an email, or come see me in person. You can always talk to staff about this if you have anything that you'd like to say or would like to talk about the process. We're here to help you through that. What the public hearing process does is it ensures that the decision makers don't receive new information after the public hearing period, which allows everybody to comment on that. So if you have questions moving forward, then please phone me or anybody in the planning department.
What about the MOT?
So that's encourage you to contact me on that as well. That's a technical matter of rezoning that we would be ensuring that is in place. And then when the bylaw, if it moves to that stage, when the bylaw is presented for adoption, we would have information in the staff report about that.
So in the April 12th meeting, we get our meeting minutes the same time you do on the internet, well, same time, same day. So all this will be in there and recommendations will be in there. So we read the same things that you read, all 100 and some odd pages. So if you don't know what's going on, what their recommendations are, it'll be in the report that's given to us. Is there any more comments? Yes.
Yeah, I got a comment. I think that there should be a second one of these things myself. I'm not, the thing is you send out a letter to the neighbors. I think you should expand that to people that it affects. Like it could affect us. Like I say, Nobby could do his property. All the people in Dundalk could do their property. This sets a precedence for these businesses out in rural areas. Willow Road, all these people, they don't know what's going to happen. It could happen in any of these rural communities where people are, and they do not want rental businesses in their neighborhood. I've run rentals and everything else, and yes, I trust that he's going to do his best. But I've had too many tenants and different people. You can't control them. And we got no one to phone. I mean, yeah, okay, we're going to police the neighborhood. We're going to have to phone people, get the police up to do something. He's going to do his best. Yeah, I know. But the thing is, he can't do it all. And I just think this kind of business in the rural neighborhood, you guys should tell more people because it's going to affect other people if this precedent is set. And it could happen for us. It could happen to other people, Dundalk, and so on. It's not fair. You send out a couple letters, people write around it, and you expect me to read the newspaper. I got other things to do besides read the newspaper. And I did see a board out there, and generally the board out there is for a subdivision, which we're all in favor of. We've got no problem with the subdivision, but when you get a 4 rental place out there and probably going to be year round, probably going to be campfires, and yes, he's going to try to police as best he can. I know what happens, and it doesn't work. I'm totally against that part. But as far as the subdivision, go for it.
This one. Yeah. Any more final comments?
Yeah, it's as easy as to phone the cops if something gets out of hand, right? All the time, however many times it is. But the thing is who pays for that? Who pays for the police to come out there? We do. You're making money. We're paying for the cops. Got it? The road. It's going to be super crazy busy. Yeah, you can do nothing about the road, but that's why it shouldn't be there, because it's not safe. Simple.
Ken Wilson again, one more time. You're going to have all these newbies coming in there too, into this thing. He doesn't know what they're like, doesn't know what they do. They don't know the area, and it's not safe for them either. It's going to make it unsafe for them driving around. I just think that this business is. Thank you very much. Ken Wilson. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I just want to thank you all for coming out here, even if you're opposed to what I'm doing. I really appreciate it. You guys have been great neighbors. I've had a great 11 years living on the street. I can only do what I feel is best, and that's why I applied for it. And I hope, regardless of the opposition, that it doesn't stop the march of progress. And if it does, like I said, I will still try to be a good neighbor, and I will still try to do as run the business as good as I could. And thanks a lot for coming out here. I appreciate it.
Okay, I call for the first time for any further representations on the bylaws. Hearing none. Okay, basically I have to read this 3 times through, and then that's the end of the meeting. So basically,
If anybody has any final comments.
yeah, it's basically I'm asking for comments if you want to make us. Speak now or ever hold your peace. All right.
No, I just want to know if you are our representative, on the regional district, correct, Mr. Sparrow? Yes. Okay. Well, does that mean you get a vote in anything that happens at the meeting?
Yes, if I can do, I'd be happy to speak to that. Yeah, so that this is your representative for Cherry Creek. There are 6 directors that participate in development planning, which are the 6 electoral area directors. So Banfield, Beaufort, Sprout Lake, Beaver Creek, am I missing here? Cherry Creek and Long Beach. So those are the directors that they will be voting on this application. They'll be at the meeting.
Well, then I can't speak for everybody, but for my husband and myself, we would hope that you would represent us in this matter and obviously we are against the RC1 zoning. And I don't think I'm the only one in this room that feels like that. Thank you. And I'm really done.
There, I have received a couple letters that from other neighbors that were for this and supporting of this. I didn't bring them here because I didn't actually anticipate this much opposition. But I have received a couple letters from other neighbors supporting the rezoning and the subdivision. And so it's not everybody that's against it.
Ken Wilson, I just have one question. Do these people know that it's the 4 cottages, or are they just in favor of the subdivision? And it would be nice to have seen these letters and to see if they actually know that it is 4 cottages and all that kind of stuff, not just a subdivision.
Unfortunately, no. Yeah, I mean, this is the end of the public input period. So, I mean, if there's anything that the applicant, you'd like to address with staff individually, we're happy to do that in the coming days. But this is the opportunity for public information to be received.
Good. Okay. I call for the first time for any further representation on the bylaws. Hearing no comment. I call for the second time for any further representation on the bylaws. Okay. And I call for the third time for any further representation on the bylaws.